I think that as human beings, unless you have some sort of proactive way to measure your progress, it's very hard to see it.
That's why the day-to-day doesn't seem to make any difference. Because 1% is nothing on the day-to-day, but it compounds and it becomes a whole different life.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode, number 1133, Why You Have Trouble Receiving. Today, for episode number 1134, Sometimes Progress Doesn't Seem Like Progress. I said this quote on a recent podcast episode. Hold on. I don't remember where I put it. But it was something along the lines of, progress is too small to recognize from day to day, but impossible to miss from year to year. And I think of it from even the aspect of us, Alan, when I tell people, or when I tell myself, or when I'm talking about the podcast and I say we have 1,133 episodes, next time we record and I say 1,134, it doesn't seem like anything. It's not that big of a difference. It's really not that big of a difference. 999 to 1,000 to 1,001, that's not that big of a difference. But that mile marker of you went from 3 digits to 4 digits, that's a huge thing that you look back and it takes a lot of perspective and reflection. So I think that as human beings, unless you have some sort of proactive way to measure your progress, it's very hard to see it. This is my new frame when I go on other podcasts, and I honestly think this is like the most fire thing you can do. And we get to do it all the time because we're podcasters. I say this. I say, I want you, and you may have heard me say this before, I want you to pull out your cell phone, I want you to take a video of yourself, and I want you to talk about where you are in life right now, what's the number in your bank account, what's the number that you're measuring, what's your weight, how happy are you, how fulfilled are you, what are you scared of, what are you proud of, what are you looking forward to, what are you dreading? And then I want you to check in 6 months from today, and I want you to see what's changed. And I want you to record another video. And I want you to do the same thing every 6 months or every 3 months. I think that might be one of the most powerful practices in the world because you are constantly getting perspective and a deeper understanding of your growth. And we get to do that. We can literally look back and look at episode number 7 and say, wow, it's terrible. Wild to look back. It was horrible. Yeah, it wasn't great. I think that was a solo episode, so it was probably pretty good because you weren't there yet.
So it's probably the best one yet.
It was probably one of the better ones that we've ever done. Ever, maybe. Episode 7. You know what episode 7? That was Chase Your Effing Dreams. That was episode number 7.
Oh, that would be interesting because even you, like the way you used to think and the way you used to talk, and it was it's interesting because it was a good episode. I remember listening to it. I remember that was one of the first Scratching the Surface, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when we came up. So for those of you who are new listeners, we used to, at the Hyperconscious podcast, and I know this is about perspective. So, we used to have 5-minute clinic, which was a quick 5-minute episode, which ended up being 10 minutes.
Of course, always.
We had a Scratching the Surface, which is supposed to be a 10-minute episode, which ended up always being 15 to 20. And then what was the other ones? We had Small Talks, which was 15, which always ended up being 20, 25. And then we had two others, didn't we? Guest interview.
I think we had we had 5-minute clinic, Scratching the Surface, Small Talks, and then I think we did guest. And then when we started doing more episodes, we were like, nobody knows what the hell Scratching the Surface means. This is stupid.
And then we did Motivation Monday for a long time. Motivation Monday.
Probably too long. Judging by the way the listens were, you didn't like those very much, so we stopped doing them. Because, again, for us, it's if you don't like what we're doing, we're probably going to do something different.
But I have a question. So this is about one of my favorite topics in the entire world, which is essentially what he said, which is on the day-to-day, progress is literally invisible. But yet in the long term, it's undeniable, it's obvious. And I often say, if you went to the gym for 9 hours and crushed a workout 9 hours straight, or a hike for 9 hours, or whatever, ran for 9 hours on a marathon or something, ultra marathon in that case, not that much would change. But if you took 9 hours and broke it into half-hour increments, that would be 18 half-hour increments. And if you were to actually work out for 30 minutes per day for 18 days straight, you might create a new habit. And that new habit, if you did it over the long term, would literally change your entire life. And that's honestly one of the most, I don't want to say misunderstood because I think people kind of get it. It's one of the most underutilized or undervalued concepts in the world. And a lot of this has to do with exponentials. And I was on book club and I said the quote I say often on this podcast, which is really from James Clear's book. But if you improve by 1% per day for 365 days, you end up 37 times better at the end of the year. And a lot of people are like, well, how is that possible? 1%, why isn't it 365% XYZ? And the reason why is because it compounds. So 1% of 1 is 1.01. 1% of 1.01 is, 1.012 or whatever. And so I sent someone a screenshot in book club about how the math works out. As a matter of fact, I'll pull it up right now because this is exactly how this concept works. That's why the day-to-day doesn't seem to make any difference. Because 1% is nothing on the day-to-day, but it compounds and it becomes a whole different life. It says the power of tiny gains, 1% better every day. You take 1.01 to the 365th power, which is 37.78. 1% worse every day, you put 0.99 to the 365th power, which is 0.03, which essentially means if you get 1% worse per day, you bring yourself almost all the way to zero. If you get 1% better every day, you end up 37 times better at the end of the year. And if you continue doing that, you end up 37 times better than that. So if we were to get even 0.1% better on each episode of this podcast, we ended up, I could literally crunch the numbers. We're probably 1,000 times better than when we started. And it just stacks, it compounds. And I have a lot of people doing fitness streaks right now. And if they could just realize that their whole future, no exaggeration, their whole future will be different because it compounds and ripples into other things. And I'll go quick about this, but I have one client, she's on a 15-day, 30-minute exercise streak. And that's the longest she's exercised in a long time. And I said, it's not just exercise. Yes, the exercise is great and the scale is moving down. And that is great. She's lost 1.5 pounds or something like that. Great. But that's not the point. Self-esteem. Self-esteem is the point. Because when you have high self-esteem, you show up on social media more. And this person's a public figure. You end up taking better pictures. You end up taking more pictures. You end up going out and doing things you normally wouldn't do because you feel good about yourself. You end up making more money because you're confident. Everything, it leaks into everything, and there is no version of you being super, super, super fulfilled and living your best, rich, dynamic, positive life without these little things that seem like they do nothing, but they actually make all the difference. And now you and I are in a place where we can authentically talk about this because we're 5 years in. I don't know why I always add a half a year. I don't know what that is.
It
is 5.5?
Yeah, for me, technically,
March of 2017. So okay.
April 2017.
Okay, April 20. So 5.5 years.
5.5. Yeah.
Okay, so we're 5.5 years in, and we're really seeing the benefits of the compound effect. I remember how hard it was to even get a client for free.
Yeah.
And now I have people randomly booking on my calendar. It's very cool.
So group coaching was definitely an experience for me. Getting to know the people was really, really cool. Everybody's kind of moving towards the same goal. And I definitely started to see the value in what Kevin and Alan were presenting to us. PPT for me was something that was really huge. I was looking for a system to help me kind of keep track of the things that I had to do every day to make sure that I was productive. I feel like I got so much value out of it, and I am so grateful that I took the leap and I decided to join.
I thought of that yesterday. I did a podcast breakthrough session, and for a long time it was like, just remember, I'm the podcast guy. And this person was like, what do you suggest as the podcast expert? And I was like, oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I didn't say that, but
it's
my
so
energy
nice.
was
It's so much better that way.
I don't have to prove myself.
I
I
know.
have proved myself for the last 5.5 years. I don't have to anymore, but I still do, obviously.
You still do, yeah. Depending on who you're, depending on the size of the ego of whoever's in the room.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
But that's what it is. It's the beginning is. I was thinking about this earlier, in the shower.
Of course. Did you do any yoga in there at all, or did you do any math problems or anything?
No, always with the math problems. Seriously, I wanted to do this live on the podcast. If you, speaking of small things that make a big difference, 5 times a day, 5 minutes a day on Facebook. So imagine you're on Facebook 5 times a day for 5 minutes. Not a big deal. We all do that. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. TikTok, Tic-Tac. Okay, now multiply that by 365. That's 9,125 minutes. Divide that by 60. That's 153 hours. Imagine someone who was scrolling for 153 hours. Now let's divide that by 16, which is a 16-hour day, 9.5 days. If you're on YouTube, you can see my calculator. 9.5 full 16-hour days per year. And that's just 5 times a day for 5 minutes. Yeah. If I were to take that over 60 years, you might as well take away 2 or 3 years of your life scrolling mindlessly. But people don't think about the math, right? So what was I saying before that? Yeah. I think on the day-to-day, 5 times a day for 5 minutes doesn't seem like anything. But it stacks up. It adds up. Very last thing, and then I'll let Kevin talk on this episode.
Dollar in the jar, son.
Dollar in the jar.
I'm telling you right now, I have to find a way to
counter.
Yeah.
We need like a ding, dollar in the jar.
Put that on my improvement list.
And even if it's not that saying, it'll be something else that we say too much, you know? I don't think there's ever been a time in our podcast careers where there wasn't like something that we say too much. Literally, geographically. Saying we had an jar for a time.
When we do it, it'll be this. It'll be dollar in the jar. Hold on. But it'll be better.
But it'll be better than that. Perfect. I like it. There's Do we have an one? I'm joking. Oh yeah, I was telling you about the person we have at NLU. We have
off the
This is a
today.
good one. This is going to be a good one. I apologize to all of our listeners.
Neither of us feel well. I have a migraine to the point where I can barely open my eyes, and Alan is definitely beyond past go. So we're just we say we're going to show up. We're going to show up.
Hopefully, this will be useful for everyone. I really hope so.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
That's okay. So at NLU, we have a fitness tracker where most of the team at this stage is on it, and they track their weight and they track their calories. It's awesome. And the person who's been doing it the longest, Amy, my executive admin, Amy D, because we have 2 Amy's on the team. So we always got to say Amy D, Amy L. But anyways, so I changed her. I have an algorithm that calculates someone's set point based on the data of the past, and I'm not going to get into it, but I changed it by 15 calories, and I aggregated that across the 4, 5, 6 months that she's been doing this, and it was 2 pounds of a difference. So 15 calories a day, she would have lost 2 pounds more if she had done 15 calories different. 15 calories in one day doesn't do anything. It literally does nothing. Obviously not nothing, but very close to nothing. Nothing noticeable. If you aggregate that over 6 months, 15 calories a day, that's 2 pounds. It's 2 pounds. If we could just think like that on the day-to-day, we would be so much more consistent, and then we'd end up with the results we want in life. Most of what people admire and value and envy is a long-term game. Most of these results are all from the long term. And it's unfortunate because we see someone else with this nice car, this nice home, or this nice business, or great body, and we want it quick. And there's just no way. It's not real.
I think that's why when you break it down to the day-to-day, it really helps people understand. I'm sure you've seen this online before. $100,000 is only, $300, whatever. What is it? Probably like $275 a day. Okay, that's either 275 $1 products or whatever. It breaks it down into this is how you can actually make $100,000. You don't make it all at once. You make it every day. Yeah. You make a little bit every day. This is my analogy for this, and this is why I want to do this episode. As you know, I hate flying. My favorite part of flying is landing because it means we're getting closer to the ground. But there is that moment where the pilot comes on the intercom and says, everybody, we are planning to start the descent to land. Make sure your seatbelts are fastened, tray tables up, seats are forward. If you didn't have any reference in the very beginning, you wouldn't even know you were going down 100 feet because you can't feel it. When you're 34,000 feet in the air, 100 feet's nothing. It doesn't feel like anything. You can't tell. Another 100 feet, another 100 feet, another 100 feet, another 100 feet, 500 feet, 500 feet. That's my analogy for this because you can't tell that anything is happening. And I also said this, I don't know if I said this behind the scenes on the team call, the toilet paper. Did I say that on the podcast?
That was on a group coaching, I think.
Toilet paper roll. When you go into the bathroom, you might pull one,
that's
two.
a hell of a hook. Toilet paper roll.
Toilet paper roll. This is the analogy. When you're in there, you never are thinking to yourself, "Wow, this is really going quick." But the next time you go in, it's like, "Oh, interesting. It's a lot smaller than it was last time. It's a lot smaller than it was last time." It doesn't seem like anything is happening from poop to poop. but over the course of some poops, maybe it does.
This is the most valuable episode we've ever done.
All right, we got to go because
we gotta jump. I have to say
call.
one more thing. I
no,
have to.
We're going to be late.
No, because I have to correct myself. I feel bad.
Okay.
All right. It was 1 pound for 6 months, 2 pounds for a year. 15 calories, if you aggregate it over 6 months, is 2,700 calories, which equates in a full year to almost 2 pounds. In 6 months, it would be 1 pound. So I had to correct myself.
No, you're good. Okay. If it comes to that, I'll, that's all right. But if you were just going to add something in there, I was gonna have to turn it down. All right, Next Level Nation, we got to go. We're recording this on a Friday, so hopefully you've had a wonderful weekend since you're listening to this on Monday. Tomorrow for episode number 1135. If you want to find your people, you have to be yourself. I really enjoyed that live podcast. We got a lot of really good feedback from the team and other people, so we are very, very grateful and hopeful that you will enjoy that. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. We have a live podcast tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What does discipline mean to you? I'm very excited for that.
Yay.
Alan, I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
As always, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Please reach out.